They say Britain needs defending, and with the way the world's looking lately, yeah, they're right. We live in a time when geopolitics can shift in the blink of an eye, where conflict erupts overnight and where alliances get strained. So, yes, of course, we need to be ready for war. But that's not the question I find myself asking. Because every time I hear Britain needs defending, is it bad that I don't automatically think from what? I think, for what? This isn't about denying the need for strength. Our armed forces deserve the best, their best resources, respect, and the clarity of their mission. But they also deserve something deeper, to know that they're defending a country that still loves itself. Because defense isn't just about firepower, it's about purpose. And right now, that's what's in doubt. Because what's even left under the flag? A little? A vape shop? A housing estate called Deer Hollow, built on what used to be an actual Deer Hollow? Legal migration, illegal migration, fewer marriages, fewer babies, fewer churches, 5 hedgehogs? Maybe? And the borders are dissolving, but so is meaning. So this isn't just about jets and tanks. It's about asking the question that Westminster's avoiding. What are we even defending anymore? Or, maybe the better question is, how can you defend something that you can't even define? Because what is Britain? Is it the crown? The constitution, if we can even call it that? Is it Shakespeare, NHS queues, a pint and passive-aggressive glances on the tube, a nation of shopkeepers that's now sadly mostly owned by Amazon? And some say it's the Union. When was the last time that we felt united? We haven't agreed on what the hell we are in decades, and maybe that's the problem. Because if you can't define something, how can you defend it? And before I get into the video, please subscribe and like if you enjoy what I have to say. So, our Labour government promises to spend 2.5% of GDP on defence, which is like saying you'll clean your flat but only doing the bits visible from the hallway. You want to look responsible but not actually be responsible. Because here's the truth. You can't spreadsheet your way to nationhood. You can't audit your way to meaning. And you can't defend a vibe. So let's talk about the channel, shall we? We had over 1,000 crossings one weekend. At this point, even the channel's like, really? Again? This isn't a border, it's a doormat. But it's not even just about enforcement, it's about erosion. Not just of coastlines, though yeah, we've got that too, but of confidence, cultural boundaries, national values, ideological coherence. All of it washed away like a sandcastle in a storm. And the kicker? If we don't even believe in our own borders, why the hell should anyone else? Try to draw a line and someone screams racist on Twitter. But it's not about hating outsiders, it's about not hating yourself so much that you forget it's okay to say, yeah, this is mine. And you can't defend GDP. Nobody dies in a ditch for quarterly growth projections. People fight for home, for meaning, for something sacred. Once we had families, churches, neighbourhoods. Now, you'll die alone in a service flat above a Costa while your neighbour blasts TikTok through the walls. We've got better phones, but worse friendships. More choice, less connection. Yes, living standards have risen, but quality of life, not so much. And if what you really want to know has been lost, you don't need a graph or a Guardian op-ed. Just ask the people who actually built this country. We talk about defending Britain like it's some grand, abstract thing. Borders, budgets, alliances. But for a lot of people, Britain was never abstract. It was the shipyard, the football pitch, the corner shop where you used to get your paper. It was the family home passed down through generations, not flipped on Rightmove. Traditional working class Britain wasn't built on GDP. It was built on graft, on decency, on the kind of pride that didn't need a press release. And now, the same people who propped up this country for generations are told that they're outdated, problematic, that their accents are offensive, that their patriotism is too suspicious and their opinions are too blunt. The left told them to abandon tradition, and the right told them to accept decline, and both told them to stop complaining. Whole towns have been gutted, industries offshored, communities left to rot, and somehow they're the problem. We told them to get with the times, but we never stopped to ask what kind of future were we dragging them into. And it turns out that progress meant Deliveroo instead of dignity, watching the TV instead of going to the pub. The working men's club turned into nurseries and flats, which no local can actually afford. Your granddad's war medals gathering dust while a Twitter goblin with a blue tick lectures you on what flags you're allowed to fly. Patriotism isn't a performance for London media to sneer at. It's a love of a place, of people. It's raising your kids to see Britain at its best and hoping the town still has the same soul that by the time they grow up, where someone remembers your parents and even your family. So if you want to talk about defending Britain, maybe start by asking the people who built her who feel like strangers in their own country. And why is it that the only thing with permanence in their towns is the potholes? And what do we even tell young people? Pull yourself together and get on with what? The gig economy? A £1,200 studio with no windows? The Uber Eats economy? The disused libraries? The dream of a mortgage that they'll never qualify for? We call them lazy, but we've handed them nothing to root into. Are we even a country anymore? Just a postcode lottery with a shared anthem? But if you want to look at the state of a nation, you don't look at its military budget. Look around. Look at the buildings. Look at the open spaces in cities, the play areas. Mainly look at its trees, because our ancient woodlands have been flattened to make room for Foxglove Meadows, which contains no foxes, no foxgloves, and no meadows. The hedgerows have gone. The birds are vanishing. Badgers have been evicted. We're not just paving over nature, we're paving over memory. And where is the Green Party in all this? Hello? You've got a winning issue here. Why does it always just stop oil and never just stop screwing over the countryside? Patriotism without stewardship is cosplay. Real love of country starts with land and language and things that bloom. They say we have to defend Britain, and of course we do. But have you noticed that the enemy keeps changing? One year it's Russia, before that it was China, then it's Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, then it's Jeremy Corbyn, then it's Farage, and occasionally the French. Because if Britain isn't squinting at France with mild suspicion, are we really doing tradition properly? The enemy changes, the fear stays the same, and the press sells it like it's box office. It's like musical chairs, except the chairs are existential threat, and the soundtrack is whatever the news happens to be fear-mongering that week. We're constantly told that the country is under attack by migrants, Marxists, millennials, but somehow never by the people who quietly hollowing it out from within. Because these days, defending Britain isn't a principle, it's a slogan. It's a product, a clickbait carousel designed to rile, distract, and funnel outrage into profit. But the real tragedy of it all? While we argue over flags and statues, the things that actually built this country, duty, sovereignty, craftsmanship, truth, they're all being sold off, undermined, or quietly forgotten. Because the real invaders wore suits. Blair, Brown, Cameron, Sunak, Starmer. Decades of decline management are opportunistic predators. They didn't invade, they asset stripped her soul. Sold the factories, bulldozed the high street, and told you to be grateful for Deliveroo. Globalism didn't just bring cheap goods, it brought cultural amnesia. And no, I don't blame people for wanting to come here. Britain is a beautiful country. I blame the people who forgot what made this place worth coming to, who forgot that countries are more than just the physical mass they occupy, but living, breathing organisms that need to be maintained, loved, and developed. And while the villains keep changing, the outcome never does. We fight, we spend, we forget. Especially the people who actually fought. We talk about defending Britain like it's a sacred mission, but what happens after the mission? What happens to the men and women who served, who gave their youth, their bodies, and their minds? Here's what: a benefits hotline, a pat on the back, if they're lucky, and a 2-minute silence once a year, followed by a lifetime of bureaucratic silence. We sent them to war. They came back to waiting lists, street corners, and please hold music. So maybe the real question isn't what they're fighting for, but what they're coming home to. A homeland that's forgotten its heroes faster than it forgets its prime ministers. You can't ask people to risk their lives for a country that won't fight for them. That's not patriotism, that's just exploitation. And also, aren't we meant to be at war with the climate now too? Not on behalf of it, mind. With it. Half the government sounds like it's trying to punch a hurricane. Doesn't Starmer want to block out the sun? Net zero by 2050, they all shout, while approving airport expansions and paving over wetlands like it's competitive sport. Meanwhile, farmers are protesting. The rivers are toxic, and the bees are filing for asylum. If only someone told them to hop over to France and catch a dinghy, then maybe they'd get looked after. But don't worry, everyone. We've got 2.5% of GDP going onto the Ministry of Flags and Drones. So, is there even anything left to defend? And sometimes I wonder. And then I walk past an old parish church. I smell the hedgerows in the summer, and I hear someone say, "Good morning," and actually mean it. And it all comes rushing back. Maybe it's not about the bunting and the bulldogs. Maybe it's about the quiet things, the stubborn things, the things that whisper to us underneath all the noise. Maybe defense doesn't start with the army. Maybe it starts with remembrance. So before we talk military budgets and strategic alliances, let's talk about gardens, about neighbours, about memory. Let's talk about the hedgerows that we haven't paved over, the foxgloves we haven't renamed, the silence in a church that still smells of wood polish and rain. Because that's how you defend a country. And maybe, just maybe, that's how we can save it. Because here's the truth. You can't defend a country that you've been taught to hate. And you can't love a country that's been hollowed out by the people who think it's embarrassing to care. Because love is what we need, not in a Richard Curtis Christmas film kind of a way, not in a performative, flag-waving pantomime, but a fierce, local, rooted love. We inherited a country worth believing in. We owe the next generations the same. So what do you think? Let me know if anything resonated with you in the comments below, and please consider giving me a like and subscribe if you want to hear more. Thanks.